The most interesting guests. The coolest conversations. Keep watching episodes of the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott. Follow the Grizzly Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more apps to have our episodes delivered right to your iPhone, Android, or any other device whenever they're released. Can't get enough of the Grizzly Podcast? Stay up to date with all our latest news, events, and behind-the-scenes footage by visiting grizzlypodcast.com. Stay on your Grizzly means working hard and never giving up. It's about staying committed to your goals and pushing yourself to be the best that you can be. Now, go out there and seize every opportunity that comes your way. Thanks for watching Season 4 episodes of the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott.
So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress beyond your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast, hosted by Irvin Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. I am your host, Irvin Scott, and today I am joined by a special guest. He is an actor, best known for playing Yaya in the 1993 film The Sandlot. He's also known for his role as Larry on the first season of ABC's Boy Meets World. He also voiced Mickey the Weasel in Nickelodeon's Hey Arnold. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Marty York. Woo! How's it going, Marty? How are things with you, man?
Going good, man.
It's so good to have you on here. I grew up watching you as a kid on The Sandlot, Hey Arnold, and Boy Meets World, man. So the fact that you're here today joining me on the podcast, it's like a full circle moment, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
So how's the new year treating you, man?
It's good, man. It's I'm got a new agent and got some new stuff going on here, and excited about doing that. And this year is the 30th anniversary of The Sandlot, so we've got a lot of bookings lined up. I'm hoping it's as extravagant as the 25th anniversary that we did back in 2018, where we toured almost all the baseball major league stadiums in the United States. Obviously, we have a different employer now. We were a Fox film when we did the 25th anniversary. Now we are actually a Disney film, as Disney bought Fox at the end of 2019. So technically we are a Disney film now, but we were with Fox for 25 years.
So Marty, for our listeners and viewers tuning in right now that may not be familiar with how your career got started, let's take them back. Let us know about how this whole thing got started. How did you get started in acting?
Did a lot of theater. I did theater. I started my first theater production. I was 5 years old. I did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and at the local theater company, and I would do play after play after play, and I would get like standing ovations. When I would do these plays, and the lady that owned the theater company was like, "Hey, you should take him to Hollywood and see if you can get him an agent, stuff like that. Get him in the big time league." So me and my mom, at the time, my dad were going to split up anyway, and so they split up, and my mom moved me out here. Basically, came out here with a shirt on our backs, and my sisters stayed with my grandma, and my mom taught equestrian, so she taught horse riding and stuff like that. So she had a whole, I grew up on a ranch growing up, Northern California, and I moved out to LA, and it was just a whole different, different vibe. It was like I was in the city, living out in Woodland Hills, and sleeping on like the floor of like someone else's house for a while, and then I was doing some extra work. My mom's aunt, or my aunt, I'm sorry, not my mom's sister, my aunt was actually one of the biggest extras casting agents in Los Angeles at the time. And she said, well, maybe I can get him some background work, being like one of the people in the background in some different projects. So the first thing she got me on was me and my mom were extras in a movie with John Candy called Delirious.
So being that your first project was Delirious with John Candy, are there any moments that you can remember that you shared with the late, great John Candy?
I was mimicking John Candy to my mom, like doing his lines. And I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around and John Candy's standing there. And he goes, "That's pretty good, kid." And he took out a piece of toilet paper out of his pocket, signed his autograph on it, and gave it to me. And at that point, I knew like I wanted to keep doing it. And then basically my mom's sister got us an interview with Media Artist Group, who was a big agency out here in LA. And I went and I auditioned for them, and they said, yeah, we'd like to sign him. We actually have an audition for him today if you'd like to go for a Colgate toothpaste commercial. And so my mom took me to that, and I had to dance with a little girl in the commercial. And I was like really nervous because I walked in the room, and like, when you do theater, you're with like all your friends, especially in a very small theater company. And, you're rehearsing with your friends for weeks and weeks before you actually perform. But like with this, you're like on the spot, the director, the producer, everybody's in the room, and there's very bright lights, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on? So I was so scared I hid behind the chair. I didn't want to like come out and dance with this little girl. So they coaxed me out, and I came out, and I danced with her and left. And I was like, that's it. I didn't get that. And they called my mom back the next day, or my agent back the next day, and said, "Hey, we'd like to book him for the commercial." It's like the first thing I went on. And so I did that. Then they called me back, called my agent again, and said, "We'd like him to play in a ragu spaghetti sauce commercial." Like, I didn't know I even have to audition for it. So my mom was like, "Damn, this is easy," And then after that, like, then I was starting auditioning for like bigger projects, and I wasn't getting anything. It was like day after day, week after week, and it was like it went for a year, and I didn't get anything. And then Sandlot came around, and I auditioned originally for Bertram, for one of the other characters in the film.
So you were originally cast as Bertram in the Sandlot, but you were then cast as Yaya after the kid who was originally cast got injured. Is that correct?
I think he broke his arm, the kid that was originally supposed to play me. And I think I booked the role of Bertram. I actually booked the role of Bertram after I auditioned for Bertram like twice. And it was in the treehouse scene where we're telling the story of the beast, but Squints didn't have it wasn't the big monologue that you see in the movie where he said the legend of the beast goes back a long way and all that. It was like we all had different lines in it, and we were all talking about the beast. So I was talking about the beast living under the lean-to and stuff like that. So I booked the role of Bertram, and then basically they took us out to a field in Los Angeles to start practicing baseball. And the director and the producer came out, and they lined us all up, and they came up to me and they said, they came up to my mom and said, "We don't really think he fits the role of Bertram." So I was like, "Oh, well, that's it. That's the end of this." And they go, "We'd like him to audition for Yaya," which was a bigger character in the film at the time. And they're like, "You fit more of this character, and you need to bring a ton of energy to this role. Like, we want you to audition for this. Just bring the energy." So my mom took me to, the local liquor store and got me a big Hershey's chocolate bar, one of the giant ones. She's like, "Eat that whole thing." And I ate it to get that sugar buzz, to get that sugar rush. And then I went in there, and the rest is history. And then David Mickey Evans, our director, stood up and started clapping, and I knew that I was Yaya from then on.
This movie has been around for so long. I mean, to this day, people my age obviously are now adults that grew up watching it. They're now sharing that movie with their kids. or, other relatives that are growing up now. I have a nephew, man, that actually has just recently watched The Sandlot, and he actually just enjoys it just as much as I did when I was a kid. So to be a part of something as big as The Sandlot, man, what does that feel like?
It's crazy. I would say in the past 5 years, I'd say no, in the past 6 years, it since the 25th anniversary is when it's become the biggest I've ever seen it. Because Sandlot was kind of in a lull for a long time. Like I would say about after 1996, I didn't really hear anything about it. Me and the guys kind of all went our own ways. And then 2013, we were contacted by Fox to do a very small tour, just to go back to the Sandlot and do like a thing on the Sandlot field. And that was the first time I'd been back to the field in 20 years. And at that signing, they actually gave us a plaque. The state of Utah gave us a plaque that said the Sandlot Field is a historical landmark in Utah. It can never be torn down. And the plaque sits in City Hall of Utah, along with some other items from the film, like Benny's jersey that got ripped, the Rodriguez jersey, and some baseball bats we used in the film and stuff like that. So it's yeah, man, it's to be in the film is just the things I've seen over the past 5 years. Like it's weird coming back to something you did as a kid and seeing like how it affects people. Because I don't think we really got how it affected people when we were doing the film. You don't really get it. And then you see we met Major League Baseball players are like, man, you're the reason I'm playing baseball right now. So like that kind of stuff was like, we were like, what? Like Matt Kemp, we were standing next to him in the Dodgers field, the 25th. And he's like, I got to get a picture with you guys. And he like walked over to us and he goes, man, like I'm standing right next to him. He goes, man, you guys are the reason I played baseball. And I was like, what? Matt Kemp, all-star. And it was crazy, man. It was like, it was surreal. The whole thing's surreal, really.
What was it like working with such an amazing cast?
Those guys I look at like brothers that I've known for most of my life, because now I tour with those guys and we travel all over the United States and we do different autograph signings all over the United States and almost 365 days a year where we're constantly traveling. So I've gotten to know these guys over the past 5-6 years. We've had our adventures, as adults now that we're grown up, and but all the guys are really the same as they were when they were kids, really. Like each guy, like, Chauncey, who played Squints, always has his swag going on. And Pat's always the wisecracking one, cracking jokes. And Vic is my best friend, like my roll dog from the movie. And all those guys are they're just basically grown-up versions of kids. Tom Gyrie, who played Smalls, is still the same dude, like saying the same stuff he did when he was a kid. And but it's crazy because the fans see us as the characters, and the cool thing about Sandlot is it's not like a main character driven movie. It's kind of like we all had our moment in the spotlight in the film. We all had that one scene that like people remember, which is a really cool thing. And I think David wanted to make it like that, which stands out from a lot of other films. Normally with a lot of films, you have the main character and the whole film focuses around him, and you have different characters that appear along the way. But in this, we all had our big scenes and we all were kind of like big supporting characters. We were all stars in the film, basically, which is the cool thing about Sandlot.
I agree. Could you tell us a little bit more about what it was like working with Art LaFleur?
Art's amazing. Art's an incredible guy. He first time I saw him again was at the 20th anniversary. We did a press tour, and we did a lot of TV and radio interviews, and we went back to Fox Studios, and we were in a room, and it was like, I think it was like me, Grant Gelt, who played, no, not Grant wasn't there. It was like me, Pat Rennan was there, who played Ham, Shane, who played Tommy. It was like me, and it was only like 4 of the guys, and Art was there, and we were talking about Sandlot, going back and forth. And this is when, I think before the diagnosis of the Parkinson's, but Art was like on point. And if you look at my Instagram, which I'm sure you checked out, there's a picture of me and Art pointing to the Sandlot picture. I gave him my condolences, when he passed away. But yeah, over the years, just doing these Sandlot the Sandlot tours and the anniversaries, Art's been there, and he was there at the 25th anniversary, and we've done signings with him over the years, and he's shown up, and he's just an amazing guy. He's just the most humble guy. His resume is like, I mean, he's done more stuff than all of us combined. That guy's just been in everything, and he's an amazing actor. If you look at the breakdown of his resume of some of the big stuff he's done. So just an amazing actor, an amazing guy altogether, man. And rest in peace, Art LaFleur, you know.
What was it like working with James Earl Jones as well?
You know, I have the one story I tell at every convention and Comic-Con and everything signing that me and the guys do, where my mom said, I'm going to take you to meet Darth Vader. Because outside of the Sandlot, we had if you were to go, let's say, into Timmy and Tommy's house where the treehouse was, if you were to go inside the house, it was just a facade of a house. There was no house. It was just like a set, you know. But he was inside that set eating like a big bowl of oatmeal, and she goes, "Hey, that's Darth Vader," and I go, "No, it's not, Mom." And he looks at me and he goes, "I am your father," in the in the low, you know, James Earl Jones voice, and I'm like, "Mom, it's him. It's really him." And then he goes, "Nice to meet you." And he shook my hand and put his hand on my shoulder and said, he was like, "Nice to meet you, kid." And yeah, it was cool meeting him, man. He's a cool dude.
Very cool, man. So obviously the Sandlot, man, we talked about how great of a film that was, obviously, you know, being a part of such a great cast and knowing that it's been around for this long now. I mean, you mentioned yourself that you felt like it didn't get the recognition it did until like the 25th anniversary. The
biggest I've ever seen it. It was when Funko made our Pops for us, and well, some of the guys, I think our Pops might be coming this year. And it was just like meeting the fans and actually like getting like the fan experience, because the 20th anniversary was kind of small. It wasn't really as big, but the 25th was just like they went all out. And it was like touring the baseball stadiums and like going onto the fields and throwing out the first pitch on like so many stadiums, like the Marlins and the Angels and the Dodgers. The Dodgers did a big thing for us because obviously Benny the Jet, you know, joined the Dodgers at the end of Sandlot. So they did a big thing where we came out on the field and we took our original positions on the Dodger field, and it was Game 3 against the Giants, you know, their arch rivals. And we were in the dugout waiting with the guy with all the players from the Dodgers, Justin Turner, and they were telling us stories of the Sandlot in the dugout, like how Justin Turner was telling us how they call him Ham on the road, you know, when they travel. And just meeting those guys and seeing how they reacted to us. They were like just as blown away as we were to be there. So, and then to take the field, and then the most amazing thing was like when we took the Dodger field, we got a standing ovation from like 60,000 people. And we were like looking around like and looking at each other like, what is happening? Like, is this real?
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and I watched Dodger games my whole life as a kid and even as an adult and sitting in the bleachers and watching them play. And now I'm standing on the field and I'm getting a standing ovation. And I'm like looking at like the big Dodger board on the, you know, above the stadium, and like it's showing all of us. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy to what the movie has become and just the way it's touched people. Just like I got an email from a lady the other day on Facebook, and we were talking to her son, I guess, and me and some of the guys did a signing in Arkansas recently. And she said, sent us pictures of us with her son. And she's like, my son just passed away from cancer. I just want to let you know, like, the highlight of his life was meeting you guys. And man, it's crazy. Like, it brought a tear to my eye, and I was just like, how the movie touched people, and how it's no matter what era we're in, the Sandlot will always keep going. After I'm dead and gone, and you know, even if I never do anything else again, which I hope that's not the case, the Sandlot just will keep going and going and going and going. And you know, one day when there's flying cars, people will be like, "Yeah, that's a great film," you know. And it's gotten bigger every year. It's crazy, man.
So Marty, what was it like playing the role of Yaya in the Sandlot?
I think it was very similar to who I am or who I was at the time. A very hyper kid. I was always a very hyper kid, and I always, you know, I think, yeah, he has a character that has a speech impediment, obviously. uh, you know, yeah, just playing the character. I just, you know, I've just put myself into it, really. Yeah, man, it's just fun to just play different characters. I love playing different characters and putting my spin on the character and how they would be. And I played very similar characters my whole life, even my whole career. I've always played like the shit talker, the street kid, the guy that like the bully, the you know the that kind of character. I don't know, the kid from New York, that you know, the wisecracking kid from New York, or you know. So yeah, it's kind of carried over through my whole career. But yeah, it was definitely obviously the up to this day the epitome of everything that I've done. And it's just carried over through space and time, and people like the character, and a lot of people are like, it's my favorite character. That's how I was when I was a kid. And it was funny, we did this LA Comic-Con, and there's a lot of kids coming up that looked like me, that, you know, as a kid, they comb their hair in the wave, which is a funny story. I've never actually told this on a podcast, but that wave in my hair that I had in the movie, when I went in there, it was very high, because I always liked a show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose. I don't know if you remember that show. Yeah, it came out in the early 90s. And
I remember that.
Yeah, so I wanted to, I always like loved that show. I always watched that show when I was a kid. And so I would comb my hair like Parker Lewis when I was a kid. And so then when we actually went to like the makeup and hair trailer, the lady was like, we had to cut your hair off a little bit because it was like a giant, you know, something about Mary looking thing in the front of my head. So they kind of cut my hair and made it, you know, made it a little more 60-ish. And yeah, it was just a fun character to play, man. It was like, I can't say much more about it. It was a great time. Everything in Sandlot, even the pool area, I mean, everything is in Utah. This part called Glendale, Utah. And they did a lot of stuff. I mean, all of our wardrobe was 60s. They brought in cars from the 60s, you know, Bel Airs and things like that, and put them on the street. And Vincent Drugstore that me and Squints walk out of when we buy the baseball, where we see Wendy Peppercorn, that still exists in Utah. It's actually closed now, but yeah, it's that's all the stuff is there. So it was a big production. They brought in a lot of stuff for this.
I thought they shot that here, man. Like, for some reason, that drugstore looked like it was in Burbank or something.
Yeah. And it looked like Pacoima did in the 1960s. Obviously, Pacoima in the 90s looked different than it did in the 60s. But that area of Utah looked exactly like, especially with the hill line of the San Fernando Valley, that big hill line, the big mountainous line that you see in the, you know, some of the scenes. It was a dead ringer. So we had to shoot it there.
So after The Sandlot, man, I know that film was released in 1993, but that same year you also worked on a couple other projects, and one project in particular that you're also a part of and you're best known for as well is ABC's Boy Meets World. You played the role of Larry on the first season. What was it like playing the role of Larry on the first season of ABC's Boy Meets World?
That was awesome. I mean, those guys have become my lifelong friends, you know, Ryder and Will and Danielle. And I was just on their podcast too, the Pod Meets World podcast. And yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, doing a live TV show is so much different than doing a film, because when you're doing a live TV show and you have a live audience there, it's a little daunting. It's a little nerve-wracking compared to a movie where you can do take after take after take. I mean, I prefer movies in all honesty, but you know, doing a live TV show is it's fun, and it's scary and fun at the same time. And doing scenes with you know, Bill Daniels, who plays Mr. Feeney, was a lot of fun. He's a funny guy. I remember we did this scene where I dress up as him for Halloween, or no, career day or whatever I think it is, and I'm doing the lines with him, and he says, I messed up my line, and then he screwed up his line right after, and he said, "Oh, nuts, you made me screw up my line." You know, it's nerve-wracking when you do that in front of a live audience. And I was telling the guys on the show when I did their podcast, I thought that was the reason that they ended me on the show, because I did 3 episodes of that show, I did like from the first season, and then they didn't call me back for any more episodes. And I was till I did the podcast, the Boy Meets World podcast, I thought it was because I messed that lineup. And they were like, no, you were in the death chair. I later found out it's called the death chair, where they would cycle through Corey and I keep calling him Ryder because that's his real name, but Corey and Sean's friend. And so I was just in the death chair, and it was my time to go. And then they brought in another kid, and I guess that's how it went. So it was a lot of fun, man. I love those guys. I see Ryder and Will at signings all the time that I go to. I hang out with them the whole time, more than the Sandlot guys sometimes. And I just love those guys. They're just awesome. I did a lot of guest starring roles on TV shows in the 90s, and that was my favorite one, was being on Boy Meets World. And Saved by the Bell too. I did one episode of Saved by the Bell, and it was very weird and surreal because all these shows that I watched as a kid, I would be on the next week. So I would always like come home from school, and me and my sisters would put on Saved by the Bell, and then I auditioned for it, and I was on it the next week, and developed a very good friendship with Dustin Diamond, who played Screech, and saw him for the last time at his last convention, actually, in 2020. Which was a weird experience because I came up to him and I go, "Hey, Dustin, you remember me? Like I was on a Thanksgiving episode in the college years." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, like, "Yeah, what's up, man? You had that black JanSport backpack with the red handles, right?" I go, "Yeah, you remember the backpack I had?" Because after we shot the show, he took us roller skating, and I left my backpack there. My mom picked it up from him, and he remembered the backpack. And yeah, regardless of the bad rap he got, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to Dustin Diamond, man. He was a great guy from what I hear too. I mean, and obviously the cast, once he passed away, they all showed love as well. So I'm sure, regardless of everything that might have happened or the rumors that you hear about them having their own little issues between them as a cast, I mean, they all still, showed love even in the end. So rest in peace to him. Now, eventually, you got a chance to voice the character of Mickey the Weasel in Nickelodeon's Hey Arnold. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that was like?
It's crazy. I never even saw that episode that I was playing Mickey the Weasel. I never saw that. I mean, that one, they just wanted a kid that could do a New York accent. So just, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, Arnold, how you doing? It's Mickey. Hey." I think I sold used cars or something. I can't remember what the Mickey did. I think he sold used cars or something. I can't remember what the character actually did, but I know they wanted me to have a New York accent, and I was pretty good at it as a kid. So I did that, and they hired me for that role. It was weird because there was like another kid from that show that played Arnold. I think there was two kids that played Arnold. The kid after the first kid. I'm friends with him on Instagram now, and it's funny how like you can find all your old friends on social media now that you did like acting work with over the years. And it was I worked for a lady named Barbara Harris for a while. We did voiceovers. This isn't on my resume, but we did voiceovers for I think I did like 150 different movies. Like I did like Addams Family Values. So like when they're at the camp and you can hear all the kids in the background making noise and talk, like I think she like calls out all the outcast kids. She's like Mortimer, and then say something, whatever the kids, and we're like ew, I was like doing those voices, and it was such easy work. It was like you literally walk by a microphone and like go like ew, and make a lot of money. So I was like, oh man, I wish I could do that again. I need to get back into that thing because that was a cool thing. But yeah, I did like 150 of those background voices of movies that you probably never would have known.
You also appeared in Sliders. What was it like being a part of that show and getting a chance to work with Jerry O'Connell?
Yeah, the kid that I don't know if you saw the episode I was in of Sliders, but the kid that I was going to hit his baseball, the kid that I was going to beat up in that was actually the voice of Arnold in Hey Arnold. That little blonde kid, he was the voice of Arnold. So yeah, it's weird. It was such like I would see all the different kids in the 90s that were like constantly working. I would always see them on different shows and stuff. And it was kind of like an inner circle. It was weird, like child actors. But yeah, that was a fun show to shoot. And meeting Jerry O'Connell. I think Jerry O'Connell had just done Joe's Apartment with the movie with the cockroaches when I met him. And it was kind of interesting meeting him. He came up to me 3 times and said, "Hi, I'm Jerry O'Connell." Like 3 times. It's like, I know I met you like an hour ago, dude. It was strange. But yeah, it was a fun show to work on.
A little bit after Sliders, you were involved in a car accident back in 1997, which broke your legs, your nose, and you were basically in a coma. You also had your right hip replaced. How did this whole thing happen?
I actually died. I died at the scene of the accident. And they revived me in the helicopter. I was airlifted to Holy Cross Medical Center. But yeah, when I was 17 years old, this was like right after I did Sliders. Sliders was the last project I did before this happened. And I was driving to an audition. I mean, I used to drive back and forth to Hollywood all the way. I lived almost near Acton. I don't know if you know where that is. It's like close to Palmdale. But I used to drive from there all the way to Hollywood almost every single day after I'd go to school. So I'd like wake up at like 7, get to school, go all day at school, and then have to drive to these auditions in Hollywood and, audition, still have energy to audition, and then drive all the way back 60 miles back home and do my homework and then repeat it day in and day out. And for a kid, that takes a toll on you eventually. I just started getting burnt out of the industry and going to school and trying to do all this stuff. And then one day I was driving to an audition on a 2-lane road, and I fell asleep at the wheel. My car went over the lane and then head on into another vehicle, and don't remember really anything. I literally remember waking up in a hospital room and screaming because my leg was in traction. There was like 2 metal bars and was like hanging in the air. And I was like trying to break the metal, trying to like pull it out of my leg, because I thought I had this crazy dream when I was out that I was like that I'd been kidnapped and I was in an RV or something. And I woke up and I thought I was in an RV. I didn't know I was in a hospital room or anything. So I was like trying to break this metal out of my leg. And the nurses all ran in and like were holding me down. And they were like, "Hey, relax. You're in a hospital. You were in a very bad car accident. You've been in critical condition for about a week now." And first thing I did was call my mom. And she was like amazed to hear that my voice, because they actually had a priest come to the hospital, and he called my dad, who at the time was living in Northern California. He said, "Hey, you better come out here and say your goodbyes to your son. He's probably not going to make it through the night." And my dad came out, and I was out for like a whole week. And when I came to, like, yeah, things were different after that. Like, one of my eyes was swollen shut, couldn't see anything. I thought I had lost an eye. I was like, it was some scary shit. And yeah, the recovering from that it was a long process, a long, painful process. Having to relearn how to walk again, and because your legs atrophy, and losing so much weight. I was like 110 pounds at 17 years old, and just trying to like recover from that took years. I think at that point I said, I'm done with acting. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to be like a regular person, go to college and get a degree in something. And then I went to college and tried a number of different things. Wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be a firefighter, because I heard that Mike Vitar was a firefighter, and went to school for fire science and got my associate's degree in fire science. And but I had such issues with my leg at the time, and I wasn't working out or anything. I was still very, very skinny, and I wasn't working out, and took the CPAT test and didn't pass it. I took it like 3 times and I didn't pass it. And the guy was like, you might have an issue with your legs and you might not pass your physical getting to the fire department. After that, I decided I wanted to be, after that, my buddy was doing real estate So I went in the mortgage industry for almost 8 years. I was a mortgage broker, and I did pretty well at that. And the whole acting bug didn't really hit me again until I did the 20th anniversary of Sandlot. Because at that point, like, Sandlot was kind of like on the back burner. It was like I'd heard nothing about it, hadn't talked to any of the guys. I mean, the last time I saw the guys, Pat and Chauncey came to the hospital when I was in my car accident and signed my cast. And that was the last time I saw them. So I hadn't seen any of these guys since 1997 was when I saw them.
After experiencing a crazy car accident like the one you went through, more tragedy followed. You eventually lost a sister. Could you tell us a little bit more about what happened there?
My sister battled with a drug addiction for a long time. For about 5 or 6 years, she battled with, it started off small with just taking pain pills, and then it gradually increased to taking meth here and there, and then increased from that to heroin. And it was a long battle of us trying to get her sober. And she's like me, she's stubborn. If she wants to do something her way, she's going to do it her way. And as many rehab centers as I took her to, she would always leave. She would always take off. And so it was, she was a very smart girl. She graduated from school with a master's in, she was actually like nursing. And she graduated with high honors. And she actually did this while she was on drugs. And then the drugs progressed. And, there's an old saying, like, you are who you hang out with. And she was hanging out with boyfriends that were doing drugs. And, as much as I tried to scare them off, because, I was working out at the time and I was getting big, and I was like, hey, stay the F away from my sister. I'm going to beat your ass, As much as I did that, she would keep going back to these like dirtbag guys and doing what they were doing heroin and things like that. So it's very sad, but I have talked at different events of people that, different rehab centers and things like that, to people that are on doing heroin and things like that. And doing my documentary I shot the end of last year, and talking about it, a lot of people have come forward and emailed me, and sent me Facebook messages and Instagram messages saying, hey, I want to thank you so much. Like, I was on heroin, and your story like really affected me. Like, I started thinking about how my family would feel if I passed away. And so it helped a lot of people, and that's all I can do now is like really help some, other people to overcome a heroin addiction.
Yeah, man. And Marty, that's so cool to hear, man. The fact that you're out there, just trying to spread the word, you know what I'm saying? Like, trying to encourage people to, shake the habit or, just trying to, do something better with their lives. Unfortunately, not everyone is lucky. But you're doing your best to help others, and that's all that matters. And that's another reason why, I wanted to bring you on the Grizzly Podcast, man, because, the Grizzly Podcast is all about, people such as yourself, people who are constantly grinding, constantly hustling, constantly working towards their dreams and doing their best to help motivate others. Hence the name of the Grizzly Podcast, being on your grind. That's what that means. So I'm so glad that you got a chance to come on the show and talk about all this, because I think a lot of people that haven't followed your career didn't know that this happened in your life after the Sandlot and after Boy Meets World and after all the other projects that you were a part of. So to have you here and just kind of, share this information with us, we really appreciate you taking the time to actually talk about all this and being so sincere about it, because obviously you've gone through a lot, and just like everybody else, we have our ups and downs, and the fact that you've also overcame the adversity, and you're here today, turning your life around even after everything you've gone through. I mean, kudos to you, man. I applaud you for everything you've done. So
Thanks,
very cool to hear that you're doing that to help others. And I think also from what I saw a clip from the documentary. I think you also paired up with one of our past Grizzly Podcast guests, Natanya Ross. And I think she had done something for you that was very special. I think she dedicated something to your sister. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Natanya introduced me to what she does, which is the tiny homes, where she basically, when I first met her, she's getting these tiny homes for homeless. She's getting homeless people off the street because at one point of her life she was homeless as well, and she dedicated a tiny home to my sister and to the boyfriends that she had that that all passed away from using drugs. So that really touched me, and yeah, Natanya is like one of my best friends. We went to her wedding, and you know, in Hollywood, it's hard to find people that are genuine. It's hard to find people that will stick by you at your lowest points. And I have an old saying: if you're there with me through my low points, you will definitely be there with me through my high points. So, you know, Natanya's definitely been there with me through some of my lowest points, and I love her with all my heart. And yeah, I'm glad that you know you had her on.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you on too, man. Because again, now you're part of the family, brother. You know what I'm saying? This is the Grizzly Podcast, fam. So I'm glad that you got a chance to also come on the show. And Marty, for our viewers and listeners right now tuning in, what's the best way for them to reach you to try to get their body right? Can they do that? Is that something that you do on the side? Are you a trainer at a gym somewhere? You know, do you give tips to people about what they should eat, how they should work out?
Yeah, I do. I do personal train privately. I have a couple clients, and so if anybody out there wants to get trained, um, you can hit me up on Instagram, Marty_York, and let me know, and I can help train you and yeah, get you on the right track. Yeah.
There you go. So for anybody wanting to get their body right for 2023, my guy Marty York, man, that's the guy to hit up right now. He'll definitely give you some tips, and he'll try to get you right for the year.
Also, the link is in my bio for my documentary. If you guys haven't seen my documentary, NBC LX aired it on the Peacock channel and recently aired it all over Los Angeles, which was amazing to me because I didn't know they were going to play it on regular TV, but regular NBC aired it because it got such high ratings on the Peacock channel. So if you want to see an amazing documentary, go to Marty_York, and in my bio, you can see my documentary.
And tell us a little bit more about this documentary, man, because I know it focuses on your life, but what are just some things that people can tune in to find out about you when they watch this documentary?
I mean, kind of a brief synopsis of when I went over your podcast, but you can actually see me visiting my sister's grave, and you can see where the car accident happened, and you can see, you know, you can see me at the LA Comic-Con talking to Mr. Feeney and reminiscing over Boy Meets World, and you could see me and the boys going up on stage and crowds' reactions, and yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have. I think the guy that directed Cody Broadway was the best person I could have found to direct this. He just did an amazing job of painting the picture of what I've gone through, and if a movie does get picked up, I definitely would want him to direct it. He did an amazing job, but yeah, I mean, just a synopsis of my life. It's only a 12-minute documentary, so you don't have to sit through an hour of watching something. But a lot of people hit me up and they said, I wish it was longer. They want to see more. So, oh, Natanya's on there too. We talk about the tiny homes. So we squeezed a lot into 12 minutes.
What are other projects that you're currently working on, man? Because I know that since you've done these tours with, you know, the Sandlot cast, you kind of mentioned that you kind of got into acting again. So are there any other projects that you're currently working on right now, acting wise, or is there something that you're doing behind the scenes perhaps? Let us know about what you're going, let us know about what's going on in your life now. What are you currently working on?
Potentially fun with Tara Reid, shooting later on this year called Do Justice. And also, I mean, a lot of the stuff I've done is commercials lately. If you want to see a really funny Old Spice commercial, go on YouTube and type in executive spray tan parties. It's probably the biggest commercial I've done. But Old Spice actually built a website based on my character in the commercial. I shot that commercial about 6 years ago. I've done a lot of, like, you know, modeling ads and stuff, just you know, from the bodybuilding stuff, and kind of funny ads. You know, I did a ad for the Denver Water Company where I do a lot of stuff like spoofing Jersey Shore guys. So actually, I did a show with Pauly D called the Eric Andre Show. I don't know if you've ever seen that. So I was on that, and that was a hilarious episode. That's also on YouTube. Type in Eric Andre Pauly D, and yeah, just little things here and there. But I have a new agent, and so I'm looking forward to the future, and a brand new agent, a brand new manager. I just got about 2 months ago. So yeah.
And now, Marty, I mentioned that this is the Grizzly Podcast. Again, what we do on this show is basically take people such as yourself who are basically grinding on their hustle, constantly doing their best to improve and better their life. Obviously, you've done so much in your career. You've accomplished so much from being a part of the Sandlot to, being a part of Boy Meets World, Hey Arnold, doing commercials, obviously going through the crazy situation that happened back when you were young, the car accident, losing your sister, overcoming all that now, and just doing your best to help others. If you could offer any advice to anybody listening or watching the show right now, for anybody wanting to pursue a goal, wanting to follow their dreams, if you could offer them any advice to try to turn, their life around as well, just try to do something positive in their life, what would you say to these people?
I mean, I would say, don't listen to naysayers. Don't listen to people that tell you that, you can't do something. Keep going. If you have something that you believe in, that if you have something that, you're going to be around people that'll give you honest opinions on what you're doing. You don't want to be like an American Idol contestant that's horrible and people are telling you that was awesome. Be around people that are going to give you an honest opinion and to really be like, hey, that was great, or that was bad. And then take that, learn from it, rework it. I mean, because everything takes life, just like, your podcast, if it's about hustling, then, stay on your hustle, stay on your grind, work on what you're trying to accomplish every single day. Even if it's just 1 hour, work on it and keep at it. And I mean, people can say whatever they want about acting. Acting is tough as hell. Especially if you're playing, you're getting up there in the ranks of playing very serious roles. It's hard to do a lot of that stuff. So if you want to be an actor, take acting classes. I still take acting classes to this day. Every week I'm in the acting class studying. But whatever it is, keep at it, do it every day. If it's working out, if you want to get fit, you want to have your body right. Make sure you're eating the right things. Make sure you're working out at the gym daily, at least 3 or 4 days a week, and stay at it. And don't let people tell you can't do something.
Well said, man. Great advice. Very much looking forward to everything you've got going on in 2023. Make sure you guys follow Marty on social media. He's on Instagram at Marty_York. Is that correct?
That's right.
And Marty, stay on your Grizzly, man.
All right, stay on your Grizzly.
Get it, pop. Let's get it.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to the Grizzly Podcast YouTube channel to access full episodes, video clips, and more on YouTube. The most authentic podcast is online at grizzlypodcast.com and on all major podcast platforms. Guest appearances and real conversations that will push you to hustle. The Grizzly Podcast is now streaming.
Hi, and welcome to Trademark Expediters. Whether you need a trademark or copyright, we can help make the process easy and affordable. Protect your company name, logo, or slogan with the trademark. Protect your songs, books, photographs, and other creative works with a copyright. Complete our easy online questionnaire in 15 minutes or less. Clear pricing, no hidden fees. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Get started today. Learn more at trademarkexpediters.com or call one of our friendly specialists at 1-800-510-1082. Affordable, easy, expedited service. Trademark Expediters.
Yo, turn it up.
Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.